If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Ooh-wee.
Hello.
Hello, potatoes. How are you tonight?
I'm pretty good, thank you. How are you?
I am fabuloso. Fabuloso. We are rather large and beefy. Let me just I changed my colors behind me.
Oh yeah.
Ooh-wee. Why don't you greet peeps, and I am going to I gotta fix something really quick. Welcome, you guys. No intro this today.
No, straight in there. Ooh-wee, that will scare somebody.
Can you guys hear that? Ooh-wee. We got Tammy Nichols in the house. Tammy Nichols.
Top. Olive juice.
We have the chat wide open tonight. How did that go last night? I didn't get
think it was pretty good. No, there was no dramatics.
No dramatics. That's always a good thing.
Apart from a few bots.
Yeah, those. Well, I said they were Russian, and then someone, I think it was CEO, corrected me and said, "No, it's China now."
Oh,
so
is it?
now they're Chinese bots. They've gone
Okay.
Russian. Yeah. It's not the Victor Bout bot. It's now I don't know who's the evil people with China. China. So now we've pissed off China, apparently.
Gonna get bots from everywhere. Hi, Alexis.
Alexis. Oh, someone's called you a fully baked potato. Are you fully baked?
I wish I was.
Right? Tammy Lynn Nichols in the house.
Bundy's a rumpkin. Bundy's a poop butt. Bundy's his mama's boy.
He's
So
mama's
guess what,
boy.
guys? They're back.
Roberta.
I've missed them so much.
I know,
it's not
right?
The same without the soundboard.
Hi, Leo. Angie B. Where is my kitty cat claws? Meow. Yay, Carrie's here. And we're still going to laugh at you. That's awesome to have him back. Audra Gart wants to know if she can give her puppy an edible. Is it just THC? Or just CBD, rather? I think CBD is just fine. I don't know if I would give them THC, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That might, if you're giving it for like anxiety, I don't know what you're giving it for. Probably anxiety, like storms or something. I definitely would not give THC. Hello, oh my gosh, we have so many people here. Potato. Betsy Lee. She's been a member for 11 months. Yay!
Amazing.
This guy is just
nuts.
He's
Flo
a nut.
Nightingale. Yeah, they do make CBD for dogs, but I would think it would be fine. Just check the dosage. Just make sure it was the right dosage. Because I think CBD is CBD. I mean, they're just packaging it for pooches. They're going to put the cute little, yeah, she said anxiety. They're going to put the cute little packaging for pooches, but look at
Vicky Watkins.
Love it.
Everyone's normally asleep at this time.
Rocky.
Oh, cracky, Vicky. Why my face all weird? I feel like Heather J with my neck.
I get a crick in the neck.
So I know I've missed it too, Isley. Hello. Oh my goodness. Facebook. I forgot we're on Facebook tonight. And my Mary. Mary, how are you? I hope you're doing good. And I just want you to know I miss you tremendously. Thank you so much for saying hi tonight. I hope everything's going well for you. Wow, that was really a blast. Like, I haven't seen her in so long. Really nice to see you, Mary. Mary, quite contrary. Capricus. Who else we got? Laura Carter. I've tried those weighted vests. You know that? For dogs.
For dogs.
The thunder coat or thunder jacket.
Oh, like it's giving them a hug.
It didn't work. When I had Yorkies, my one Yorkie was so scared. Bless his heart. Little Slash. I showed you his picture.
Yeah.
I was so scared, and I tried everything, and he was in that thunder coat like a little sausage because he was like a little butt. And he was in this thunder coat like a little sausage, and it didn't do a damn bit of good.
Oh,
It didn't do anything. I tried everything. So I would just snuggle him. I miss snuggle. My bigger dogs, they don't like to snuggle like the little dogs.
My dog doesn't either. She's like, get off me.
I know, right? Like, that's why you got to have a cat. Like, my cat always loved sitting in my lap. So
my cat doesn't. He really doesn't. He doesn't like people. Yeah, he doesn't snuggle at all.
Oh, my cat was really loving. My daughter took her, though. So I'm catless. But she was so sweet. She would literally lay on your lap and you couldn't help but get tired because she's just like warm and she just purrs. And it's like so soothing and relaxing. There's nothing like a cat's purr. It's just like, well, not if you have Potatoes cat. Potatoes, she kind of has like an antisocial cat.
I do. Both of my animals are antisocial. Like he would rip you apart if you tried to cuddle him.
Really?
He's mean. Yeah, he's mean. He's a grumpy old man.
The cat or the dog?
The cat, Rupert. He's a grumpy little man.
Rupert is your current cat.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was like an old cat. I saw the picture of Rupert.
Yeah, Rupert, that picture was when I first got him.
Oh my God.
He's
Rupert has a lot of sass. He's a lot of sass.
Yes, he really is.
He sits on your lap so he can look out the window.
How cute. I love Frenchies. They're cute.
They are cute. I love animals. Laura Carter says, ugh, but we're all back on the island. But we're all together. It's all about togetherness.
Like a reunion.
It's all about togetherness and D.A. Rourke. Rupert is a cute name. Rupert's a poop butt.
Rupert is a poop butt. I do actually call him Poopy Butt.
He looks like a poopy butt.
My little pooper.
Bundy's a rumpkin. All right, you guys. So today, Poop Butts, we're going to be talking about a couple press conferences. So the first one is, wait, I got to rewind because the first one is going to be like when they were announcing the charges. And then we're going to watch the one after sentencing. So we can not only compare and contrast the two, but we can also talk shit for an hour through them. How fun is that? I knew you'd love that. Porky Rourke. Part of me feels sorry for him in a way when I watch
for him.
Yeah, I don't know why. Right. Like I despise the guy, but in a way, because he's so. I feel sorry for people that are just that clueless. I don't know. I feel like he's like super cool, but he's really not. And I just kind of feel bad for him. Cause like hearing the story from that lawyer we met with, he freaking hated Rourke. And he said,
did he say why?
Yes, he did. Do you want to hear? So they went to law school together. So this
no way.
Yeah, this attorney that we met in Denver went to law school with Rourke. So, fast forward, they both went to like they both didn't see each other for a while. Whatever, they did their whatever you call that, like their next degree, whatever. Anyways, they moved on to other schools. Well, then they run into each other, right? So this lawyer, this Rob, says, I was up in Weld County for a case that I had there. And he said, and I saw Rourke walking down the hall. And I said, hey, Mike. And he turned around and he looked at me and he looked back like, are you talking to me? And he said,
talking to me?
Hey, Rob from law school. And Rourke goes, oh, hey, buddy, how you doing? Turned around and walked away. So he's walking down the hallway and Rob says, hey, Michael. And he said, Mike turned around and he went, go fuck yourself. Yes.
Oh my God.
And I thought, what a perfect lawyer to file, to go after a 35C for Chris.
Yes.
Like who cares what his motive is, what lights that fire under his ass. But I thought that was hysterical. He was like, he's going to blow me off, act like he doesn't know me. He's like, he can go fuck himself.
Thinking he's so big. Yeah, arrogant.
I feel sorry for people that are douchey like that because so many people see through them and they don't realize it because they just think they're so fucking cool. Mm-hmm. They think that everybody sees them like they see themselves. And it's just, I feel sorry for them because people don't see him that way. No one I talk to sees him that way. So I kind of feel sorry for him. I guess it's the empath in me.
Like pitying him.
Yeah, I kind of do. Northern Beans. It is a great story, and I think he would have been a wonderful lawyer, and he didn't cost $250,000 either. And he had a personal vendetta.
That's kind of what you need.
That's a double positive.
Yep.
But then also there were a couple other douches that were ringing Rob up, giving him like a bad impression of what was going on. So it just probably wouldn't have worked out either way,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But, it's neither here nor there anymore. And here we are rewatching Rourke. So let's watch the first press conference. And just so you guys know, it is a tad bit echoey. This is their audio. They're in like a big room.
To give you some background, Detroit Police Department received a missing person call just before 2 p.m. on Monday, August 23rd, 2018. Our agency launched an investigation conducting interviews, neighborhood canvasses, in an effort to locate Shanann and the two girls, Bella and Celeste. We also contacted the FBI and the TBI to assist in this case. In addition to providing investigative agents and crime scene responders, a missing endangered alert was announced on Tuesday afternoon.
You want to talk about flat?
Additional canvases or flyers featuring Shanann, Celeste, and Bella were distributed throughout the community. Finally, in the late hours of Wednesday...
You want to talk about flat? This guy, come on. Did he say he was Frederick?
I don't know.
He was from the Frederick Police Department. So just a little random fun fact. You can see my pointer. See him? That's Mr. Roche. That's the guy that worked for his dad, the builder. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, the guy we found the other day, Roche. He was the deputy district attorney. He's the of the baby monitor.
Yeah.
Wanted the baby monitor picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's him. That just random fun fact. That's him. He looks like Buddy Holly. He's about to sing.
Actually.
He looks like Buddy Holly.
Her husband, Chris Watts, was taken into custody and was transported to the Weld County Jail just after 11:30 p.m. last night. He is currently scheduled for a bond hearing later today.
I would just like to say our hearts and our prayers go out to the family of this tragedy. I also want to acknowledge the overwhelming support that I have personally received from our community. I truly, truly appreciate that. Also want to say thank you to the local, state, and federal agencies that the gentleman behind me that have helped us with this investigation.
Thank you for being here. My name is Michael Rourke. I'm the Weld County District Attorney. And I hope that you all understand this investigation is still ongoing. We are at the very preliminary stages of this investigation. And so as a result of that, we're going to be constrained in the types of questions that we can answer. And I hope that you all understand that at this point. I wanted to address the process and the procedure that's going to occur from this point forward. After the suspect was arrested last night, this case has been formally referred to my office for determination of the appropriate formal charges that will be filed against the suspect. As Sergeant Albert indicated, the suspect has a bond hearing this afternoon at 2:30 in Division 5 of the Weld County Courthouse. Following that, we will be given a deadline by which we need to file formal charges. That would be sometime Monday afternoon, and we will make a determination on charges between now and then. That determination will be based upon the information that we have at this point as a result of the cooperation by the Frederick Police Department, by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I truly want to thank all of those partners for their efforts. I'm going to turn it over to the CPI Director for a few comments, and like I said, we will answer questions at the end, but please understand two things. Number one, the suspect at this point is presumed innocent until otherwise proven guilty in a court of law. And number two, we are constrained ethically as to what I can say, what I can answer at this point.
I'm John Camper, Director of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. We join with Chief Norris, the Frederick PD, and really the entire town of Frederick in expressing our sorrow for the loss of Shanann, Lawrence, Bella, and Celeste. This is absolutely the worst possible outcome that any of us could imagine. And I think our hearts are broken for the town of Frederick as much as anybody's. As you probably know, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation is primarily a by request agency, and the Frederick PD did reach out to us. We were honored to assist with both investigative services and forensic resources as well, and that's primarily been our role with that because at least 15 to 20 investigators as well as
Get your ugly, yellow, no good teacher off my property.
As horrible as this outcome is, our role now is to do everything that we can to determine exactly what occurred and assist in filing a thorough case with the 19th Judicial District. I too don't anticipate being able to answer much in the way of additional questions very thoroughly, especially in the coming days. We'll probably refer you more to the DA's office in the upcoming days, but we'll do what we can in the meantime. And then I too want to note that the cooperation that occurred and the collaboration that occurred in this case was textbook. The Frederick PD has just been outstanding to work with, an extremely impressive job with investigating this
Pat
case,
each other on the back.
along with the resources of the FBI and the collaboration with CBI has been outstanding. I also might add that the collaboration by Anadarko, which, as you know, is someone involved in this as well, has also been outstanding and been nothing but cooperative in helping us with this investigation as well. So, with that, let me turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, Mr. Shivers.
Good morning, my name is Calvin Shivers. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the FBI's District Division. And I also would like to express my condolences to the families and to the victims of the families.
Okay, so I just want to point out, this guy's from the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen him. I've never noticed him. He must have only been present at this hearing or this press conference because
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. When I watched this, I'm like, I've never seen him before.
Well, I'm guessing he was the guy that was calling the shots.
Yeah, I think he's the higher up. So he shows up to, give the press conference. He's the PI probably, or PR, whatever they call it.
Supported this investigation from day one. And as Director Camper just mentioned, this was a great example of the law enforcement community coming together. Unfortunately, it was not the outcome that we were looking for. But again, the support of all the state, local, and federal partners is critical to
It's so cliche, you know it.
Channel 7 here. Have you been able to recover the bodies?
Oh, please. At this point, we have been able to recover a body we're quite certain is Shanann Watt's body. We have strong reason to believe that we know where the bodies of the children are, and recovery efforts are in process on that.
And you mentioned Anadarko. Is it fair to say that these were recovered on Anadarko property?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Rourke, any idea on when information on this case will be unsealed?
The affidavit in support of warrantless arrest was sealed last night at our request by a district court judge. We did so that we could finish up a few of the investigative steps. My anticipation is that on or about Monday, when we make a final decision, my hope will be that we can ask the court to unseal that information and make it a public record at that point.
You can't talk about the manner of death. That's something that does get released. Can you share that with us?
A manner of death would be undetermined at this time. We don't want to speculate anything or rule anything out. I think that's enough for today, guys, and I thank you all.
Good afternoon.
Don't break
Thank
the
you all
door,
for
you
being here
park
this
the
afternoon.
right?
Okay. So let me see. Is this a different one? Oh, that's just the end of that one. Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit to this one. This is the good one, guys. So let me just give you a little background. The reporters in this one were super, super quiet. None of them had a mic, conveniently. So we couldn't hear what they were asking him. So when he's dodging questions, we had no idea, at least I didn't, what they were actually asking. And to be honest with you, I didn't pay that close attention to this, like to even worry about what the questions were at the time.
No, me neither.
But when I, watched it now almost 4 years later, I'm like, what are they asking him? So I went ahead and toyed with it and made it so you could hear them. And I hope that you can hear them well enough. So if it's not loud enough, Potato, when you hear the reporters, let me know.
Mm-hmm. What date was this one?
This is after the plea deal. So I don't know what
okay.
exactly. This is after he pled. So before sentencing, after plea.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So I think, when did he plea?
I cannot remember.
I know the sentencing was November 6th or something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know the exact date of this, but it's in between.
We need some more microphones.
I'm going to actually make it bigger and get rid of this so you can see him. Oh, and
Carl,
one other thing. In typical Jay fashion, I slowed it down. So,
of course.
Yes, Rourke likes to talk really fast. And yeah, so he likes to dodge questions and talk really fast, which makes it really difficult to read his face and hear what else is going on, really. All right, let's start.
Carl, do you want to come on up?
He likes posing for those pictures too. He fucking loves those cameras. Just wait.
Yeah, good.
He has the short little guy from.
Y'all ready?
What's that guy's name?
Good afternoon.
What is that actor's name? Rick Moranis. You know who Rick Moranis is? From Little House of Terrors?
I don't.
Somebody in chat knows Rick Moranis, but Rick Moranis actually, at one point in this video, Rourke kind of tells him, "Hey, they're taking a picture," and he poses. So looking out for that. Okay?
Everyone, I want to introduce the folks that are up here with me, and then we'll get into the press conference. To my right is Weld County Coroner Carl Blesch. To my immediate right, Detective Dave Baumover from the Frederick Police Department. Chief Deputy District Attorney Steve Wren, Deputy District Attorney Pat Roach, and from the Frederick Police Department, Sergeant Ian Albert. Sergeant Albert has been
Roche.
the PIO from the Frederick Police Department. I first want to invite him up to say a few words, and then I'll comment about this morning. Sergeant Albert.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, he is Frederick Police.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I'm only here to issue this statement, and upon doing so, my agency will not be conducting any interviews or answering any questions on the matter. On behalf of the men and women of the Frederick Police Department, I would like to thank our fellow law enforcement agencies, the countless citizens, and all those who contributed to this tireless investigation. It was a combined effort in serving justice today. In the names of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. Today I am proud of the determination that was put forth by all those who worked with us on putting this man away. His deplorable actions were fought back vigorously by honest police work coupled with the goodwill of caring and loving people. But most importantly, however, I want to send our thoughts and prayers to Frank, Sandy, Frankie Jr., and the entire Ristic family. I don't know if you will ever receive closure on this horrific act of evil. I just pray that our efforts have brought you all one step closer in doing so. Thank you.
As you all, I'm sure, are aware, the defendant in this case this morning was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. She had deleted all.
Were fought back vigorously.
Oh my God, it was the sentencing.
It's after sentencing. Mm-hmm.
I stand corrected. My bad. So this is after he pled out and was sentenced to life. Okay, I thought this was just I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah. Sentencing. I was thinking because they weren't in the courtroom, so I was confused.
Oh, okay.
Courtroom speeches were prior to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As you all, I'm sure, are aware, the defendant in this case this morning was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, plus a 48-year sentence for the unlawful termination of a pregnancy as it relates to Nico Watts. He was also sentenced to 12 years on each of the 3 Class 3 felonies for unlawful tampering with the deceased body, those being Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. All of those counts ran consecutively for a total of 3 consecutive life sentences plus 84 years in the Department of Corrections. This afternoon, with the cooperation of the Will County Coroner, the autopsy reports will be made available and become a public document. There are a few things that I want to talk about that you will see that are contained within those autopsy reports. I'm going to be very general at this point. I hope you understand, out of respect for the Rusick family who is still present. Part of the reason that we kept these sealed were for the following reasons. You will see in the autopsy report of Shanann Watts that forensic toxicology testing indicated that in spleen blood, there was a blood alcohol level of 0.128. I want to be abundantly and very, very clear about this. This does not mean that she consumed alcohol, nor that she was intoxicated. We have consulted with the Will County Coroner's Office. We have conducted with the forensic experts at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. To a person, they have all indicated to us that that blood alcohol level is very, very consistent with normal human decomposition based upon the location and the manner that Shanann and Nico's bodies were buried. Secondly, you will see in the autopsy reports of Bella and Celeste a number of different substances. I think is probably the way Mr. Blesh said I want to address those. We have had those examined by both expert chemists as well as the coroner's office, because we wanted to make sure that all of those substances could be attributed to the crude oil and the water that their bodies were found in, and nothing more. The forensic experts confirmed for us that all of the substances found in those toxicology reports are consistent with being submerged in unrefined crude oil. Mr. Blesh, any other comments you want to make about that at this point?
Covered it well, sir.
Okay. Potato. Have you heard anything? I mean, did you notice this before about the toxicology for the
Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never noticed. I never really picked up on that. I mean, I heard it, but I didn't hear it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He really had to make a point about the alcohol levels as well.
Yeah.
But still, there's still a lot of questions about that.
I
Because
guess
it
I
was-
would have to look at what chemicals were listed for the girls. I have no idea. I've never looked at that.
Mm-hmm. I think
Did
it
you
was
look
all
at that?
just stuff that was. Yeah, I have looked at them. I can't remember exactly what they are, but I'm pretty sure it was all just stuff that you would find in crude oil.
Oh, okay. I just wonder why, you know, making, I guess to keep maybe the rumor
So
mill down.
people don't question. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, social media was crazy, you know.
Mhm.
So I think it was to keep the rumor mill down. And
But that alcohol level was still high, though.
it is. It is. I agree with you.
Thank you. Other than that, I'm happy to take questions. Obviously,
This is where it gets good.
From our perspective, justice was more than served this morning. The defendant is now headed exactly where he belongs, which is a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole. So I'm happy to take questions.
Can you shed some light on
I'll certainly call upon Mr. Blesh. Also, what I can tell you is that because of a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is we're not operating in the CSI TV world, oftentimes we can't determine exactly when or a time frame for cause or time of death. Particularly, I think that was complicated by where all of the different bodies were found and the amount of time that passed before their remains were recovered.
I agree.
So how much time?
Well, we know that they were deposited in the locations where they were found in the early morning hours of August 13th. They were recovered on August 16th. That's the best I can tell you from a time.
What an answer. What a dick. I mean, all she did was ask about time of death, and he's all, you know, defensive about it.
Yeah, because they can't determine it, I guess. He didn't really have an answer to that question. He's like, yeah, they were deposited early morning 13th.
Yeah,
And
he's
that's all he can
salty
say.
because they don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's a 3-day time frame, they don't know.
Mm-mm.
And the sad thing is, if they knew what happened, they would know.
Yeah. And in that first press conference as well, that guy was saying that they're going to determine exactly what occurred. Well, you didn't, though.
Right. So many contradictions.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, we can't determine exactly when or a time frame for cause or time of death. Particularly, I think that was complicated by where all of the different bodies were found and the amount of time that passed before their remains were recovered.
I agree.
So how much time?
Well, we know that they were deposited in.
That's why he got salty, because he thought he was done with the question. The freaking medical examiner gave him I agree. And then she said, well, how much time? And that's why he's being a dick. He does not like being questioned at all, and it gets better.
The locations where they were found in the early morning hours of August 13th.
He's rocking side to side.
A lot.
That's
The whole
self-soothing.
time.
That's what I can tell you
Yep.
from a time.
The whole
The
time.
girlfriend you referenced in the court, can you give us a better idea of her role in the investigation, how forthcoming she was, and how she helped?
Okay, this is where it gets good. Okay, let me rewind again. Watch his reaction. Oh my gosh.
They were recovered on August 16th. That's the best I can tell you from a time.
The girlfriend you referenced in the court, can you give us a better idea of her role in the investigation, how forthcoming she was, and how she helped?
She originally came forward and spoke to investigators on her own volition. Prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation.
Did you hear what he said? That hindered
yeah.
Why was she charged?
Exactly.
She was given immunity. I bet you any money.
For what? Why would she? I don't understand why they protected her. Interfering with an investigation, but it's all fine. Let's just move on quickly from that one.
We just read in the damn discovery that it took them 2 days of investigating to find her ass.
Yep.
He is a liar.
Yep.
A liar.
Look at him looking up as well.
And
Help me, Jesus.
Wait, I have a soundbite for him.
Oh,
in the name of Jesus, Father God, Lord.
Prior to the time, unfortunately.
Wait, his theme song is Rock Me, Rock Me. Because he rocks back and forth
the whole time.
Oh my God.
That she came in and spoke with investigators. She had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation. That hampered our ability to get that electronic digital connection between the two.
You heard it. You heard it out of his mouth. It hindered their ability to connect her and Chris.
Yep.
Not romantically. They already knew they were hooked romantically. What does he mean? Connect them how?
Yep. Because he knows that they spoke the night before.
They didn't have the evidence to connect her to Chris, who is where? In prison for life.
Yep.
When they asked about the girlfriend, when he went, I sensed not only a frustration that maybe he didn't want to let her go, but it was out of his hands for some reason. I don't know, Potato. I got a really weird vibe when the way he reacted. And it wasn't like I want to hide something, at least not to me. It was more like a frustration, like, damn it. You know, I don't know. I kind of saw a little bit of frustration. So.
Well, he's dropping little nuggets as well, saying that she hampered the investigation.
Yes.
He's kind of saying what we're thinking, but he can't really say anymore.
No, he can't. I want to play that little part again. And I know he's a liar, but I did sense a little bit of frustration about that. Look at him. So smug. Oh my God. Perfect description.
I'll certainly call upon Mr. Blesh. Also,
Sorry,
what I
went
can
too far.
Tell you is that because of a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is we're not operating in the CSI TV world. Oftentimes, we can't determine exactly when or a time frame for cause or time of death. Particularly, I think that was complicated by where all of the different bodies were found and the amount of time that passed before their remains were recovered.
I agree.
So how much time?
Well, we know that they were deposited in the locations where they were found in the early morning hours of August 13th. They were recovered on August 16th. That's the best I can tell you from a time.
The girlfriend you referenced in court, can you give us a better idea of her role in the investigation, how forthcoming she was, and how she helped?
She originally came forward and spoke to investigators on her own volition. Prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation. That hampered our ability to get that electronic digital connection between the two. She was interviewed on multiple occasions. I believe that for the most part, she was forthcoming in the course of those investigations. We don't have any reason to believe that she had any prior knowledge or involvement in the death of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. I think that's the best way I can answer that. Yes, sir.
You're leaving the door open for Chris Watts to make a statement in the future, hopefully answer questions. What information is it that you're specifically looking for?
How and why? And I don't think he'll ever answer those questions. Like I said in the courtroom this morning, and I think that the Rourke family said it very, very well as well, I don't think he will ever tell us. I don't think he will give an honest assessment of why he did what he did, how he did what he did. I intentionally called upon him to see if he would answer those questions in the courtroom this morning. Both his mother and through their attorney, his father, said that they hope that he will be honest and come clean someday and give us an account of what happened, because I think, like I said this morning, those are the questions that will always haunt anyone who was involved in the investigation, and I don't think that there is ever going to be a satisfactory answer for anyone, not the least of which is the Rourke family.
You mentioned several times in the court that this is a deliberate act. Why do you believe it's a deliberate act? Do you believe he planned this before the night of to kill the family?
I don't have any information about any pre-planning or anything like that. Obviously, something like this in my mind doesn't just happen on the spur of the moment. But what I alluded to this morning, as it related specifically to Shanann, was the amount of time it takes for one human being to strangle another. And perhaps Mr. Blesh.
Oh, I thought he was going to spare the family.
Yeah.
Oh, only the information he doesn't want to give us. That's right.
Wants to comment on the timing as well. That demonstrates an incredible intent to cause someone's death. He did that 3 times. So to say that this was anything other than a deliberate, intentional killing is inaccurate, to say the least. Yes, sir.
You described Mrs. Watts as, it took a long time for her to die. Was there any defensive wounds on Mr. Watts? And can you have any evidence if she was asleep? Or
on his
his neck that was observed the night he was originally interviewed. We don't know if that's related or not. But other than that, no. We had him photographed from head to toe that night, and nothing was observed.
I don't like Rick Moranis' demeanor. He's kind of smirking. Did you like that? He kind of waved Rick Moranis, and like the camera started going click, 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 and he posed. Such a douche. But yeah, I don't like the way this guy's kind of smug and smirking a little bit. Laura Carter says, I think I just peed.
On his neck that was observed the night he was originally interviewed. We don't know if that's related or not.
So he mentioned the thing on Chris's neck, and he smirks, and he says, we noticed the thing on his neck, and we don't know if that's related or not. Was it a freaking hickey?
It looked like a bite mark, though, as in like a bug bite.
We had him photographed from head to toe that night, and nothing was observed that would be consistent with injuries to him as a result of a struggle.
Yeah, go ahead.
The original plea deal isn't the one you guys read.
Dude, they photographed him head to toe, not one injury. How?
Nope. And they would know. They'd be able to tell as well if that mark on his neck was an injury. And clearly it wasn't if he said they didn't find anything. They noticed that mark, but they didn't find anything. So clearly it wasn't a defensive mark.
Nothing.
Otherwise they'd have said it was.
How do you strangle someone and not have any wounds? Like, unless you're behind them. You had to be behind them because their hands would be going crazy.
Or if you pinned their arms down.
Straddling. Yeah.
Straddled, arms pinned down next to their sides.
And he did say he did that.
Yeah.
It always kind of made me cringe because she was so pregnant.
I know.
Today, correct? Can you elaborate on what that would have been?
To be clear, there was only one plea deal, and it's that's that.
Did you see his face?
What was the question?
Okay, let's go back. So the question was something about like, was this the last plea deal or something? And he turns his head and he gives that reporter a look like, just to be clear, there was only one plea deal. And he claims the defense came to him with that plea, and that was it. But BS, we've heard different, that Rourke himself was in Chris's cell at the end of August, talking to him about the death penalty.
To be clear, there was only one plea deal, and it's that's the one that his attorneys brought to us.
Did you see that?
the
Just the way he looks up, he's such a liar.
He was tripping over his words as well.
Yes,
he looked up, tripped over his words.
Lying liar who lies. And he looks like a little gnome over here.
Gnomey gnome.
Can I get one of him for my garden?
The original plea deal isn't the one you guys reached today, correct? Can you elaborate on what that would have been?
To be clear, there was only one plea deal, and it's that's the one that his attorneys brought to us. The deal, for lack of a better word, and I frankly despise that word, no offense. The agreement that was reached was he would plead guilty to every count we charged him with. In exchange, if he pled guilty to each and every count in the complaint information.
Do you see him recalling this? I'm flabbergasted.
Better word, and I frankly despise that word, no offense.
Awkward.
agreement that was reached was he would plead guilty to every count we charged him with. In exchange, if he pled guilty to each and every count in the complaint information, we would not seek the death penalty. That was an offer brought to us by the defense. That's when I've talked about this before. Mr. Wren and I felt compelled to get on a plane and go see the Rousseks in North Carolina, because that was a conversation that I was only going to have with them face to face. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, did you hear her or no?
It's really quiet.
Okay. So she says, what happened with the DNA swabs of the girls? Did that ever come into play?
Good question.
I'm going to turn it up just a tad. Okay, ready?
Face to face. Go ahead, Carol. No, it didn't. Yeah. Go ahead, Carol.
Did that ever come into play? DNA on their neck?
No, it didn't. Yeah. Sorry, I meant. Yeah, we'll go back behind it first.
What do you think of that?
Did she ask if it showed any DNA on the necks? Or if the swabs had been done on the necks?
I don't know.
Because his answer sounds like she asked if like anything came from that, and he said no, it didn't.
Did anything come
did
of
it show?
that?
Yeah.
Well, the judge said no, that they didn't have to do it on the little girls' necks.
Exactly.
Let's listen again. Can you hear it okay? I mean, that's as loud, I think, as I can get it.
It's hard to hear what she's actually saying, but...
Because that was a conversation that I was only going to have with them face to face. Go ahead, Carol.
Did that ever come into play?
I read about DNA, something on the little girls' necks, and then I can't hear the next part she says, but then she says, did that ever come into play? And then she goes, the DNA on the little girls or on their necks or something like that. And then look at his face when she asks, and he does that again like that. And then he sucks his freaking lips in. He doesn't like this question at all.
No.
He snaps back at her. No, it didn't. And then he moves right back, like moves on. Don't want to talk about that no more.
Yep.
Did that ever come into play? DNA on their neck?
No, it didn't.
Why?
Go ahead, Carol.
Carol. Watch his body language.
Did that ever come into play? DNA on their neck?
No, it didn't. Yeah. Sorry, I meant. Yeah, we'll go back behind it first.
There's a letter that's circulating around social media that apparently Chris sent his family a week prior to the murders, where he's saying, if anything happens to me or the girls, I would have never hurt my daughters. Is there anything to that? Is that legitimate? And it seems to me it shows.
He's looking around like, anyone else want to answer this question?
Shows that he was planning this at least a week ahead of time.
You're seeing a lot of puzzled looks up here because none of us have ever heard that. I've never seen that on social media. I confirmed just by the look on his face with Detective Balmover, we have never
Keep
seen.
swaying, you fucking liar.
He's such a liar. How would they not know?
Cindy Watts asked Chris's lawyers if they wanted the letter.
Yep.
And they said that won't be necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to sit there and look at one FBI guy. What? Look at
Plain
the
dumb.
other FBI guy. What? Dude, like, you're seeing a lot of confused faces. What the hell? He thinks he's so brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
By the look on his face with Detective Balmover.
Let's look at that. Let's look at that again.
Shows.
And then he shakes his head like, God, what ridiculous claim is she bringing up from social media? I'm just going to make this lady look dumb.
I would have never hurt my daughters. Is there anything to that? Is that legitimate? And it seems to me it shows. Shows that he was planning this at least a week ahead of time.
You're seeing a lot of puzzled looks up here because none of us have ever heard that. I've never seen that on social media. I confirmed just by the look on his face with Detective Balmover, we have never seen and nor heard of any such letter or its existence before.
How does he know that's what they would say, though? From a look.
Detective Balmover, we have never seen and nor heard of any such letter or its existence before. I'm sure that if it was in any way, shape, or form real, we would have heard about it. Go ahead.
Real.
When you were describing some of those very gruesome and horrific details, the judge himself even seems to be a little bit emotional.
Right.
Can you talk to us about what that's like for you standing there and seeing him have that kind of reaction?
It's not something that I relished. Mr. Wren and I and Mr. Miller, the assistant DA, met at my house yesterday for several hours to talk through.
At his house? Why are they meeting at his house?
Which one of them met him at his house?
I don't know. Let's listen again. That doesn't sound real professional, dude. Like, we were having some beers, met up at the house, went out on the boat. What the fuck?
You standing there and seeing him have that kind of reaction.
It's not something that I relished. Mr. Wren and I and Mr. Miller, the assistant DA, met at my house yesterday for several hours to talk through the comments that we wanted to make. And we all recognized that in order for the court to impose a just sentence, a fair sentence under the circumstances, that he had to know as much information as we could give him in a respectful fashion.
Okay, they had to meet at his house to decide that they were going to give the judge enough evidence? What?
What evidence did they have to give the judge, though?
I think they were partying at Rourke's house.
That's the thing, though. They didn't have the evidence to back up the plea, especially for the girls. Obviously, they did for Shanann because he admitted to it. But
yeah. I understand. How did the judge justify signing off on that plea deal when Chris was adamantly saying, "I didn't hurt my girls"?
Yeah, because ultimately it's up to him. Like, he doesn't have to accept that plea deal. He can be like, "Well, no, there's no evidence for this," and he wouldn't sign it off.
But you heard him say himself, "We told Chris you're going to get the death penalty if you. But he twisted it and said his lawyers came to him with it.
Yeah. And why would his lawyers go with that? Because they knew that he wouldn't get put to death, whether he had the death penalty or not. He'd have still been sat in jail.
Yeah.
So
what do his
what
lawyers
was
have
the
to
deal?
lose?
So what did Chris get out of it?
You know what they got out of it? I heard an interview with the governor of Colorado, who this guy Rourke likes to slam. And the governor responded in a news interview to all these claims about the death penalty that he's getting from certain prosecutors, that they want to have that as leverage.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if you have the evidence, fight the case. But the thing is, he said the death penalty cases cost the state $15 million per case. So I understand why he wants to get rid of it. We're not using it anyway. It's saving the state money. But what Rourke did, he wants it as a bargaining chip because it makes his job easier.
Yes. And that's what they want. They want the majority. In fact, the majority of these cases do actually go to a plea deal. There's not a lot that actually go to trial either because it costs money.
Mr. Miller, the assistant DA, met at my house yesterday for several hours to talk through the comments that we wanted to make.
He looks up.
And we all recognized that in order for the court to impose a just sentence, a fair sentence under the circumstances, that he had to know as much information as we could give him in a respectful fashion. Like I said, he had never read most of that. He had seen an affidavit which had some of the very preliminary information that Detective Baumover put on paper. But I felt like it was important for the judge to understand the horror that was involved in this case. Even though in the end of the sentence, for the defendant, it's not going to matter if he gets 1 consecutive, 2 consecutive, 3 consecutive life sentences. It doesn't matter in the end what number is attached to the end of those. It certainly matters to the Rourke family. It certainly matters to law enforcement and to my office. And I hope it matters to the public. When we're saying, you know what, there is a sentence that was imposed today that is reflective of the actions he took as to each and every one of his victims. Yeah, go ahead.
If I'm remembering correctly, you all searched the location where the bodies were found before Mr. Watts had admitted to you all. How did you determine the location of the bodies?
GPS.
Did you hear her question?
Something about determining the location of the bodies.
Yeah, she's like, you guys located the site before Mr. Watts confessed.
Yeah.
How did you determine the location? He says GPS.
Well, how did you know where to look?
On his work truck, he had a GPS device that showed the path of travel that he took when he left his home that morning. It showed at various increments the time that it would have taken him to get to various spots. So the CBI, FBI, Frederick police knew where he had gone immediately after leaving his home that morning, which caused some of the initial searches with drones and foot searches. Only after he gave us that information did they have a more specific place to look.
Did you appear to text his coworker that he could take the morning shift before or after he murdered his son?
There were text messages on Sunday afternoon, a text message, I should say, between he and a coworker talking about the work schedule. The investigation that law enforcement conducted indicated that wasn't necessarily out of the ordinary, but in conjunction with everything else we know became an important fact for us in his efforts to have time to dispose of the bodies in the manner in which he did.
And let's talk about that time. 45 minutes tops.
Yep.
How?
And while texting and emailing and everything in between as well.
Not a mark on him. Not on his hands. Nothing. No, they have texts with other coworkers as well. Muffin Top. They have him texting all the guys that were coming out there.
Mm-hmm.
But he only had 45 minutes from when he arrived until the first employees arrived. Which I think the threesome was there first. And then Troy.
Yep.
It is a lot to do in 45 minutes.
It really is. It's insane.
Yeah, all by yourself, no less.
Mm-hmm.
2 separate tanks, an 8-inch hole. And I can't forget what Troy said. You know, they were the last 2 there at Servy with a shovel. And Chris was like, no, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'm not done. What? Oh, Muffin. I didn't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was curious if during your investigation, if you guys found any evidence, anything suggesting that he'd have violent tendencies,
No.
any mental problems, or even low intelligence?
No, none of the above. Yeah. Kevin.
It sounded like from the statement of Mr. and Mrs. Watson, they may have met with fewer people from your office over the weekend. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
What you shared with them, what you talked about?
Mr. Wren met with them.
When the court issued its order recognizing them as victims under the Victim Bill of Rights, our office agreed to meet.
This is about Ronnie and Cindy Watts.
Mm-hmm.
Because they weren't classified as victims from the very beginning.
Nope.
They were completely in the dark. And, you know, I found out something today that blew my mind. That no one, that the Watts never talked to anyone from Anadarko, and no one from Anadarko ever reached out to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow. Not saying that they even met those guys, but like Troy acts like he was such a good friend. Like these people are completely in the dark. Like they didn't get any information from anyone. I guess is my point. Like no one.
Nope. But even in that first press conference, he said like their hearts go out to the Ruseks and stuff. But there was nothing mentioned about the Watts, but they lost their grandchildren as well.
Yep. Yep. They were never treated as victims, so they had to push the issue. And they did. And that's the only reason that they got to speak in the sentencing was because they pushed the issue. They were not given a victim's advocate off the rip, and they should have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's their grandbabies.
No one from Anadarko was asked what, Flo? I don't know.
Statement of Mr. and Mrs. Watson, they may have met with fewer people from your office over the weekend. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
What you shared with them, what you talked about?
Mr. Wren met with them.
When the court issued its order recognizing them as victims under the Victim Bill of Rights, our office agreed to meet with them, and I met with them for several hours last night with their attorney that was present in the courtroom today, and one of our victim witness assistants. We had what I consider to be a good conversation. It was awkward and tough in some respects. For obvious reasons, but I think ultimately they wanted to know the facts that we knew, and they wanted to know what was going to come out today.
Look how sweaty he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they wanted to know the truth.
Yeah, why is that
to say?
Why is that an awkward conversation? I mean, I can imagine how it's awkward for them because it's difficult, but for him to say it was awkward for him
Yeah, like,
why?
dude, you work for the FBI. Why is
Yeah,
that a comfortable
it
conversation?
shouldn't be awkward at all.
It's awkward because they knew they were snowing them. They knew, like, if you think back from the beginning, literally think about that family, right? So they go missing, allegedly missing, right? And they get a call. They're not being found. They're not being found. So Ronnie makes the decision to go out there thinking they're missing. He gets there. He finds out that they're all dead.
Yeah.
His grandbabies are in oil tanks and his daughter-in-law is dead. Right? Along with the fetus that Shanann just texted them a picture of.
Yeah.
Right? They got a picture like the week before of the ultrasound pic. So they find all this out. They go home. He goes home. And then they get nothing. They get no communication with Chris. They get no communication from his lawyers until the DA flies out to the Rourkes to talk to them. Well, then after that, the defense flies out to North Carolina and talks to them about saving his life. We just want to save his life. And they're like, we just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
So when they went out there, that's all they wanted to do was, tell him. His mom wanted to tell him, if you don't confess to something you didn't do. And that was the only thing that she was able to get out. No discussions about it. No, hey, can we talk about, why you're choosing this? Can you tell it? I mean, that's what those meetings are for. Those meetings are for them to talk before he's sentenced and everything, right?
Yeah. But they shut it down. Wouldn't let her ask any more questions.
Not about the case. If you talk about the case, we're ending this now. And that was the only time they were able to talk to him, and it was through a video screen. And those were released. Those are the Watts tapes. And everyone wanted to make fun of Cindy Watts in the Watts tapes because she told her son, we don't care what you did. Do you want to know why she said that? Because she just wanted the truth. What would you say to your kid if you wanted them to tell you the truth and you only had a limited amount of time? Would you say, I don't care what you did, I just want to know? I
Like,
won't.
we're still going to love you. Just tell the truth about what happened.
Yes. Yes. Any mother would say that. So anyone who has sat there and judged them and bashed them for that, I think you need to take a look at yourself and think, what would I say to my child if I wanted to know why my granddaughters ended up in oil tanks? And there was all these other unanswered questions that I wasn't getting answers to. I would tell my son, I don't give a shit what you did, how you did it. I just want to know what happened.
Yep.
That's all she wanted to know, is what happened. And I think it just shows complete desperation that she was at the point to say, I don't even care. I mean, do you really think that a grandmother and a mother really wouldn't care that the girls were in oil tanks?
Yeah, of
They
course
loved
they could.
those girls. Yes.
And especially Ronnie, like that would have been a traumatic time sitting in that room and finding out that his family is gone. Like, he had no idea until that moment. So from that moment, he should have been treated like a victim as well, because he just found out the worst possible thing had happened when he's just thinking that they were missing, that they were going to find them.
Mhm.
Then he finds out they're not. And he has to go home and tell his family about, the kids are gone.
Yeah, and the lovely investigator Tammy Lee says, "Oh, you want to step out in the hallway so you can text your wife?"
Yeah, a text message.
A text. They painted these people as heartless and cold from the beginning. And they couldn't be further from that. You see Ronnie Watts show up in a shirt that's embroidered and it says Papa Ronnie. Papa Ronnie thought that he was coming out to Colorado and he was going to find his girls.
Mm-hmm.
That there had to be some misunderstanding and that he could probably straighten it out.
Yeah.
As he sat on that plane for hours, wondering what the hell was going on, right?
Yep.
He wears his Papa Ronnie shirt, and then he finds out they're gone.
And I'm sure when he was told that Chris wanted to speak to him, that was probably the last thing that he thought he was going to say. Like, I can't even imagine that kind of shock.
I don't think he thought murder.
No.
But he didn't hesitate to go out there, did he? When they were missing, he wasn't sitting on the horn calling everybody and their brother. He got his ass on a plane. And he didn't just do it for Chris. He came out there as Papa Ronnie. Yeah. And I think that shirt says a lot. I think it says a lot. And it breaks my heart that those people aren't allowed to grieve. They're not allowed to mourn. It's not fair.
I can't imagine him going home and them having no more answers and not be able to speak to anyone about it either.
Mm-hmm. Right, which brings me back to that. Like, they were in the dark completely. We probably knew more than they did.
Yeah.
Because who's going to be in the mental capacity to read everything like we did?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they knew they were separating. They knew they were separating prime time. And they were worried. They were worried that something bad may happen. And that was why that letter was written. But his lawyers weren't interested in that letter. They didn't even want to see it.
I can't believe they didn't want to see it.
No.
His defense weren't interested.
Nope. Didn't even want to see it. And Chris thought they were ridiculous for it. He thought, what? But it made them feel better. But I think Cindy was, on high alert because of the whole nut incident and the ice cream and all that.
Yeah.
She had just seen like this side come out and now you're getting divorced, and they were wondering if he was texting someone else. I mean, it's just, she knew that wasn't a good mix, man. That's never a good mix.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, Chris, your wife's pregnant. What are you doing? And he said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Shut it down.
Yeah.
But we have to think about that. Like, these people got nothing. And then they had to sit down with Rick Moranis, who didn't want to give them, any details other than we're saving his life from the death penalty. The letter said, and I don't remember it verbatim, but the letter said, if something happens to me, what did it say? If something happens to me or my kids, or I would never do anything to hurt my children or my wife or something like that. It's so bizarre.
Seeing if I can find it.
Val Jean, go visit Chris Watts. I don't think Chris Watts wants to talk to any YouTubers. I think he's been burned.
Yeah. Oh, is this
You
it?
can thank all those stupid YouTubers that hosed them. He was nice enough to write them.
Oh, here we go. I found it.
Oh, okay. You want to read it?
So it says, to whom it may concern, if anyone gets this letter, I would never do anything to hurt myself or my children or my wife. If anything happens to me, please investigate my wife. And that was 8/6/18.
And they just kept it. And then when the investigator or the defense came, they were like, there's more to the story. Like, this is not, something's not right.
Yeah.
And, just based on, their history and everything that had been going on, I think that, they didn't think it all added up, but they didn't know how or why, right? They knew nothing about NK. Nothing. Never spoke to her. Didn't know who she was. They knew as much as we did, probably less. So imagine that. And they're still in that same dark place with no more answers.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the Wisconsin confession. And none of us even believe that. Yeah. And now he's lied so much, it's like, how do they even believe him? They can't.
Nope.
She has tried to ask in every, any way that she can. And she doesn't get those answers. I mean, I just can't imagine how frustrating that would be. So I think we just need to just go easy on people, not just them, but just everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, enough, man. I don't know. I just think it's enough.
Well, it's an unimaginable situation as well. Like, how no one knows how they would deal with that situation either. Like, they're just doing the best they can in a situation you can't even imagine being in.
Yeah, no one handed them a manual and said, oh, here, this is what you do next.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
And no support either. Like,
none.
No manual, but there's no support either. They weren't even recognized as victims.
No, so they couldn't get therapy paid for. They had to pay for that. And they don't have a lot of money. They're hard workers, but they're simple people.
And therapy's expensive.
It is expensive. It could be, sweet cheeks. What ways? Oh, sorry. Olive Juice says she's getting queasy looking at the gnome. All right, let's keep listening. Sorry, we got kind of on a rant, but it breaks my heart that literally, Bella and Cece's Papa and Mimi, all they got was this little meeting from Rick Moranis. Nothing else. No recognition as Mimi and Papa, and that's wrong. It's wrong.
Recognizing them as victims under the Victim Bill of Rights, our office agreed to meet with them, and I had met with them for several hours last night with their attorney that was present in the courtroom today, and one of our victim witness assistants. We had what I consider to be a good conversation. It was awkward and tough in some respects. For obvious reasons, but I think ultimately they wanted to know the facts that we knew, and they wanted to know what was going to come out today. And they felt like they had been deprived of that information, and so consistent with our obligations under the statute, I provided them with that information, and I think it changed their perspective a little bit on what was going to happen today.
They had to be forced just to give the facts. Did you hear him? He said they just wanted the facts that we have because they've been left in the dark. That should never happen. Never. I know. Who's calling? Who is that calling him?
Grandma.
I mean, for real. Like, they had to force their arm just to be called victims.
Get your ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property.
As you know, a week ago they were questioning whether their son actually had done all of these things. Did you feel like this sort of brought them to a new place in terms of how they were thinking about it?
Okay, so this is interesting. This is the same ABC reporter that interviewed Cindy when they came to her house.
Oh, yeah.
And he said they were questioning last week whether their son did all of this. Do you think that that's been cleared up?
I do. I think in the middle of that conversation that they came to a realization about the extent of the evidence that we had and why we were making the decisions we made, why we charged them with the things that we charged him with, why we were so convinced that he committed these crimes and that it didn't happen the way that Chris Watts had initially told the police. And so I can't speak for them per se, but my impression from our conversation was that, and I think it's consistent with what they said in court today, is that they're in a little bit different place emotionally and as to what they feel their son did, and they're trying to get their head around that, which has been.
And look at freaking Rourke in the background, like he's a monkey hanging from a tree. No, I slowed it down, Laura. You guys, this is slowed down so that we can make out every word. And I like to watch their expressions. I like to watch body language. I'm a big body language person. I'm not an expert by any means, and I'm probably wrong 95% of the time, but it doesn't make it any less important to me to watch facial expressions when people talk, if I can.
Mhm. Just your instinctive reaction to their body language. I mean, everyone has one.
Yeah, and if you pay attention and you really cue in to your own instinct and your own gut, you'll know when you watch these things, like that is not a dude that I would want to even like be around. Like I don't get good vibes from certain people.
Yep.
And I know. I just know. No, I know they do sound drunk. They do sound drunk. You have to get used to it, but it's funny because when you actually put it on normal, then you're like, whoa, they sound like chipmunks.
Yeah.
But I really, really like, and I'm glad that you guys, like watching that with me, because I do like watching their expressions along with their words. Like just hearing Rourke talk is one thing. Watching him sway back and forth for 30 minutes is another.
Yes, you get a whole different picture. It's the same with anything, though. It's like with NK's interview thing. Like we only heard it to start with, but then when you got the video and watched it, completely different.
Yep. And when I slow down this body cam too for Watts, oh my gosh, you pick up so much. You can't watch body camera footage on normal speed. It's all over, especially when they're moving. You can't. You're going to miss so much. I know you didn't, Laura, but yeah, they do sound intoxicated. Muggsy. Lolo gave him a name, Muggsy.
They're in a little bit different place emotionally and as to what they feel their son did, and they're trying to get their head around that, which has been difficult and understandably so.
Yes, please.
Watts originally gave a narrative that's in the arrest affidavit. Did he ever give a different story after that?
No.
Okay. Watts gave a story in the original arrest affidavit, which was the only thing Watts ever gave.
Mm-hmm.
She said, did he ever say anything else after that? Because, I think these reporters are trying to wrap their brain around this plea. Where did it come from?
Yep.
I mean, this was tied up with a bow within 3 months.
So fast.
I mean, look at us. We're still sitting on Daybell, yet we went through COVID, but still, Morphew. I mean, all these cases always drag out, but not this one. And why keep his family in the dark? Why keep his family in the dark? I see no reason. If you have all this evidence, and I bet Cindy would say, what evidence? They didn't show us any evidence. And when they actually, as victims, requested the unredacted discovery, they were declined. Make that make sense.
And he's making it sound like they were satisfied as well with what they'd spoken about.
Yes. Of course he did.
Obviously they
Liars.
weren't.
Liars. It makes me scared. You know, if you are ever arrested, ask for a lawyer immediately.
Yep, straight away.
Even if it's a public defender, you're better off. At least you know, you can say, hey, this does not sound right,
Yes, please.
Watts originally gave a narrative that's in the arrest affidavit. Did he ever give a different story after that?
No. The story that you all have had from the affidavit in which he falsely claimed that Shanann had responsibility for the death of the two girls was the only statement that he gave until his pleas of guilty in the courtroom.
And then was the PSI ever done or any psychological evaluation?
No. Well, there was no PSI done. There was no reports done between the time of his guilty plea and today's sentencing hearing.
Did you like that question?
Yeah. It was a very good question.
Testings. Yeah.
Yeah, and why wasn't there?
I love these reporters' questions, Potato.
Mm-hmm.
They're great questions.
They are. All the questions that we were asking.
Yeah. Did you guys know that these were asked?
Mm-mm.
I never paid attention to it, and you couldn't hear them,
Nope.
The judge mentioned that this is one of the most vicious crimes he's ever encountered. I was wondering how you would characterize this crime over the course of your career.
Exactly.
Okay. She said, you guys have said this is the most horrific crime, blah, blah, blah. Just generic. How are you guys dealing with it?
Exactly the same. Absolutely horrifying. All of us standing up here, I think, have dealt with a number of serious crimes, but when you take a look at this one and you take a look at the death of those children, and like I said this morning, the death of Shanann, none of these things had to happen. And the manner in which they were disposed of showed a complete and utter disregard for any kind of human decency at all. Yeah, sure.
This started out as a missing persons case. At what point did Chris Watts become a suspect?
Very, very early on.
At what point did Chris Watts become a suspect? Because this started out as a missing persons case.
Many of the things that he was saying just weren't quite adding up. The Frederick Police Department, the CBI, the FBI did an amazing job from the very outset to begin to focus on him, and rightly so. I think that you saw in a matter of 3 days a gruesome triple homicide, including a pregnant woman, solved. Is a testament to the efforts of the men and women who participated in this investigation. I think it was very clear from the outset that he was responsible for this and, frankly, was pulling the wool over the eyes of the media. To the extent that anybody in the media believed him, let's put it that way. Yeah.
What were some of the things that he said that weren't
Well, everything from the fact that she was, they were still in bed sleeping when he left the home in the early morning hours to go to work, yet her vehicle was still there, her car keys were still there, her wallet, her purse, her cell phone, which she never went anywhere without, were all still inside the home. The home, when law enforcement arrived, was locked up tight from the inside. The only way that the law enforcement could get in was getting Mr. Watts there with a garage door opener to let law enforcement in. There was no way anyone was going to get into that house as a stranger, do something to that family, and get back out and leave the house locked up in that manner. I think that was probably the most compelling thing that struck law enforcement almost immediately.
Phone calls.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
He also made some phone calls early the morning of the 13th, first to the children's school and then to a realtor, which were very odd and inconsistent with the rest of his conduct that day and what he was telling the media.
That's the evidence you have? That he made a call to the kid's school?
And police.
Sorry, I keep forgetting you're delayed.
No, I was
What?
just going to say, Rourke said that the house was completely locked up and stuff, but we know that that basement window was not locked.
Right. Nope, it wasn't. And we know that there was a notification on the phone that the garage door was opened at 12:52. Who opened that door? Oh, no, that was basement door was in the morning. That's right.
Is there any life insurance policies?
There is, and I know that that's going to be still the subject of some probate proceedings.
As far as the beneficiary.
You know, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I apologize. I don't remember the answer to that question.
Wait, what was the question he can't answer? Did you hear it?
No.
I zoned out for a second. Sorry.
I was
reading that message in chat.
Telling the media and police.
Is there any life insurance policies?
There is, and I know that that's going to be still the subject of some probate proceedings.
As far as the beneficiary.
You know, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I apologize. I don't remember.
I still didn't hear it.
No, I can't hear it either.
You talk about restitution, you got who served you. Is there any hope that there's going to be restitution in this case? Significant restitution?
There will be significant restitution because, amongst other things, the burial expenses for Shanann, the girls, and Nico obviously would be covered under that statute. We recognize that when someone goes to prison for the rest of their life, their earning potential drops off dramatically, but a portion of any earnings that he has in the Department of Corrections will be used to help pay back that restitution to the Victims' Compensation Fund.
Would you have preferred the death penalty in this case? And if so, why did you not pursue it?
Would you have preferred the death penalty in this case? And if so, why did you not pursue it? Are you ready for his answer?
Oh, yes.
Christopher Watts certainly deserved the death penalty. We thought long and hard about it. We had a lot of discussions within our office, and what compelled me to accept the defense's offer was meeting with those folks in North Carolina. When Steve and I sat in their kitchen and we explained to their family the state of the death penalty in Colorado, the possible future of the death penalty, as then we knew that an election was coming up, and the likelihood that an execution would occur anytime within any of our lifetimes, not being a high probability. And when I brought up the offer that had been extended to us by the defense, and when Sandy leaned across the table and looked at me very sternly and said, "And why haven't you done that yet?" That helped solidify in my mind that this family needed some closure. We were able to get that for them this morning.
I'm going to keep my comments to myself.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question for you. There's the one camera on the family's door. Is there any other cameras in the house that would have shown anything?
Okay, so there's a camera on the family's door. Were there any other cameras that would have shown anything?
No, there was they had, Shanann had a doorbell camera on her doorbell. That's the one that showed her arriving back home from the airport in the early morning hours, but there were no other cameras inside the house. There was the baby monitor that has been a lot of discussion has been had about. It did not have recording capabilities.
How instrumental was Nicole Atkins?
The one that's right behind you.
Do you think that
Okay, so she asks a question about Nicole Atkinson. And he thinks he's going to be a smartass.
In that face.
Get your screenshots in now, guys. Yeah, so she asks about Nicole Atkinson. Apparently, Nicole Atkinson's standing right by her. And then she asks if she was pivotal.
The one that's right behind you.
do you think that maybe Chris was caught in the act because Nicole acted quickly?
I think she was absolutely instrumental. The fact that she made phone calls to the Frederick Police Department within several hours of this act and this disappearance, I think only benefited law enforcement. Being able to have law enforcement respond to that house before the defendant came back and was able to do any other cleanup or getting rid of evidence, I think was crucial to this investigation. And so she's obviously here, and I want to extend our thanks to you for that very timely response, and thank you for all you've done. Yes.
Gary, John, do you know the orders of the death?
No, like I talked about
Do you know the orders of the deaths?
earlier, we just weren't able to ascertain time of death as to any of these individuals. So to say that Shanann was deceased before the girls or vice versa would simply be speculation. Yeah.
You mentioned in court the emotionless, what you call emotionless interviews that Chris Watts gave to the media. What do you make of those now I know?
Okay, what do you think of the interviews that were emotionless that Chris Watts gave to the media? What do you think of those now?
Bald-faced lies. He stood up there and he tried to deflect attention away from his own responsibility. He lied to the public. He stood there and said he hopes his children and his wife were safe for probably the better part of 2 days, knowing full well exactly where they were, how they had passed away, and how they had gotten to where they were. Yeah.
So far he's admitted they don't know the order of the death. They don't know the time of death.
Mm-hmm.
What do they know? How are they so certain that Chris Watts did it all? Because, and they couldn't digitally connect him and NK.
Nope.
Because she deleted shit.
And that's why they didn't want to pursue the death penalty, because they'd need a watertight case and they didn't have one. Like, to convince a jury to put someone to death, it's going to need to be tight.
Yes.
And they didn't have that.
They knew they
didn't.
didn't.
They knew they run the risk of not being able to prove that case.
And furthermore, I don't know, if that was like my loved one and I was like, pro death penalty, and he came to me and said, oh, well, we got an election coming up, so, I would have been like, you know what, dude, fuck you and your elections. Mm-hmm. We're talking about punishment for a crime. Yep. I don't give a damn about your fucking elections. Like, take your elections and your politics and shove them up your ass. We're talking about dead children, right?
Yep.
Fuck you, Rourke. That's what I would say. Fuck you. I mean, what the hell is that? There's an election coming up. That's how you talk to a victim's family?
Yeah, like it has absolutely nothing to do with it for them as a family.
Well, they say because they keep getting all these appeals when they're on the death row or whatever. But you know what? If you believe in that for a punishment, I don't give a damn about elections. I care about what's going on right here and right fucking now. And if it ends up getting overturned, then we deal with that when the time comes.
Yep.
But don't sit here and act like he wanted to get the death penalty, but when he sat down with Sandy, she said, "Why haven't you taken the plea?" Bullshit. Bullshit. God, it makes me so angry sometimes. It's like such a miscarriage of justice, whether he did it or not. These people didn't do their jobs thoroughly.
Yep. And you got to think about like future cases as well. Like if this wasn't done properly, then what else isn't? And some innocent person could end up in prison.
And not only that, what if there was someone else involved and she's out dating someone that has fucking kids?
Exactly. With a new identity.
Mm-hmm.
No one would ever know.
Her new identity probably doesn't like kids any more than she liked kids when she was Nicole. And again, you think about his family sitting there in the dark, in the ultra dark.
It may be a better question for the Department of Corrections, but what is a day in the life in prison going to look like for Christopher Watt?
That's probably a better question for DOC. I know that they are an exceedingly professional organization who will see to his safety, will place him in a prison that they feel is most appropriate for him. Beyond that, I couldn't comment on that.
You mentioned that the toxicology reports for Shanann Watts. Did you test Christopher Watts at all for drugs and alcohol the night of the murder?
We did not when.
Okay, I missed that. Did you hear it?
In a prison that they feel is most appropriate for him. Beyond that, I couldn't comment on that. Yeah.
You mentioned that the toxicology reports for Shanann Watts. Did you test Christopher Watts at all for drugs and alcohol the night of the murder?
Okay, you mentioned the toxicology for Shanann Watts. Did you test Christopher Watts for drugs and alcohol?
We did not. When he was contacted by law enforcement and Detective Baumover was in contact with him within a matter of an hour of the first phone call by Miss Atkinson, there was absolutely no indication that he was under the influence of any drugs and or alcohol that would have justified any kind of testing.
I know you don't know why exactly, but can you talk about what you think the motive was for the reason for a seemingly normal father to do something so horrific?
Oh, there's the sniff again. So basically, she's like, can you tell us like what would cause a seemingly normal father to do what he did? We know you don't know why it happened, but do you have any like idea of a motive?
A seemingly normal father to do something so horrific.
Like I said this morning, I think that based upon his Google searches, his cell phone searches, some of the things that he was doing while Shanann and the girls were in North Carolina, I think it became pretty obvious that
His Google searches. What about his girlfriends?
Yeah. They
What
don't want to
about-
mention those ones.
Yeah. What about the digital evidence they did recover of hers? Ew, his tongue. I'm going to throw up.
he found a new love interest. And for whatever reason in his mind, divorce wasn't an option. I can't speak as to why anyone would take the steps that he did, but during the course of our investigation, other than the normal stressors of financial stress that I think most of us have, the occasional.
No, most of us don't have the problems they had with finances. Sorry, Rourke. Try again.
That he found a new love interest, and for whatever reason in his mind, divorce wasn't an option. I can't speak as to why anyone would take the steps that he did, but during the course of our investigation, other than the normal stressors of financial stress that I think most of us have, the occasional marital stress, we couldn't find anything else that was a significant enough motive.
The fucking affair. What? She's just completely forgotten about, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
To annihilate your family in the manner that he did. Yeah.
In the part when you talked about, again, to your point, that partial motive, that desire to start a new fresh start, can you describe some of the evidence that you found, some of those searches you were mentioning?
Here's the answer to your question, movies. She says, look at his face. She's like, can you tell me, okay, so you have like a partial motive. You're saying these Google searches. Can you tell me a little bit more about what evidence, what Google searches you have?
There was everything from photographs of he and his girlfriend at the Great Sand Dunes in southern Colorado during the time that Shanann was in.
Okay, again, what did he Google? Aspen?
Yeah.
This guy, I can't.
North Carolina. We knew that they had gone to other museums together. They had gone to bars and restaurants together. Like I said this morning, he had done searches.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. He does not know.
He doesn't fucking know. The Aspen thing was for Shanann.
Mm-hmm. I know what the Google searches were. How does he not know?
The
Roberta.
God, I cannot.
Gone to other museums together. They had gone to bars and restaurants together. Like I said this morning, he had done searches dealing with secluded vacation spots in Aspen that he was planning on apparently taking her to. He was researching jewelry. He was doing all of that kind of research that you would think that somebody in a brand new relationship would be doing.
What?
Okay.
That's the evidence that they have for their motive. You're hearing it, folks. Could you see this guy in a court presenting evidence against Chris Watts, swaying, sucking in his lips?
But he was still married with 2 daughters and a son on the way. Yes, sir.
Can you speak at all to the state of the house? I understand that the beds were stripped, the sheets.
Steve, I'll let you take this
one.
Oh, Steve, I'll let you tell.
He's like, I'm out.
Can you give Can you give some information on the state of the house? And then he mentioned the sheets.
Disarray.
I'll let Steve take this.
Was it in disarray?
It was not generally in disarray. There was no obvious signs of a struggle like we see in a lot of houses where something traumatic occurs. The master bedroom bed did not have sheets on it. Those sheets had been taken off and placed. Part of them had been placed in the trash can, and then apparently Shanann had been wrapped in one of those sheets, or that sheet.
Apparently.
They
don't
either
even know.
she was or she wasn't.
They don't even know? What the hell?
Gone with her out to the oil tank and was found by the drone about the same time that he was being interviewed by the FBI and CBI. And that was a key piece of evidence. And
It was dude, all they did, and I'm not downplaying it because I love law enforcement. I do. I love investigators. I love detectives. But literally, all they did was drone over his last known location and saw a sheet in the middle of a field. I mean, I don't think that takes rocket science. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm not hearing the evidence. These reporters want to know, what's the evidence? What Google searches? I still don't know what he searched.
No.
Remote vacation spots? Okay. That equals murder? That's a motive for murder?
Rourke doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
Mm-mm.
And this guy here, you guys ever seen, have you ever seen National Lampoon's Vacation, the original? I've seen it like
No.
a billion times. You've never seen it?
I think I probably have, but I can't remember.
Potato, we're doing a watch party. You have to watch it. I've seen it like a gazillion times. It's one of my favorites. Love it. So if anybody else is a Chevy Chase fan, which I absolutely love him, I think he's hysterical. This guy reminds me of the guy that when Chevy Chase tries to cash the check and he says, we don't accept traveler's checks. Sure, whatever. This is who he reminds me of, like his mouth. In Potato, you wouldn't know because you've never seen it. But hilarious. He's the one that took the checkbook at the hotel thing, and Chevy wanted him to cash a check.
Us connecting the missing persons to him was the fact that the sheet from the bed was found out at the oil tank, and that was prior to him confessing that he had taken the bodies there.
Can anybody discuss his reaction when confronted with that evidence?
Go ahead, want to take that one too.
Yeah, that.
Would you like a Kleenex, Rourke? Sparky. Right when I started talking about Chevy Chase, look who comments. A Sparky 2. Y'all are funny here. That's Chevy Chase's nickname in the movies. Potato.
Okay.
His wife calls him Sparky. We should watch European Vacation together because they come over to Europe.
Oh.
And he drives around. He gets stuck in a circle and he says, "Look, kids, Big Ben." And he's driving around the roundabout and he can't get out. And they're there and then it's dark. And he's like, "Look, kids, it's Big Ben." And he's like, it's great.
We were getting that information from the drone search at the same time that he's starting to give us some more information about the nature of his relationship with Shanann and the problems that they had been having. We were also getting, or CBI and the FBI were also getting information confirming this other relationship, the girlfriend, about the same time. So all of that was coming together while they were talking to him. That information was being communicated to him or to the investigators, and they started confronting him with that. And that's ultimately when he changed direction with his story dramatically and asked to speak to his father briefly, and then told the interviewers that at that point he was willing to tell them what happened, and ultimately that is when things changed and he admitted to dumping the bodies in the oil tanks.
Hear that? He admitted to dumping the bodies in the oil tanks. Look at him.
Yep.
We
Yep.
button this one up, boys. Mm-mm-mm. Hey, Maligator. Hope you're having a good time.
Hi, Mal.
Sweet, my sexy empanada.
Ew.
We're going to end every live with that.
Nice.
No one will listen to me if I do, right?
Nice.
Sweet dreams, my sexy empanada.
Sexy.
My sexy Dr. Bill empanada.
Four-way, if you will.
Ew. Ooh, that will scare somebody.
Ooh, did you see him stick his chin up? I gotta watch that again.
Briefly, and then told the interviewers that at that point he was willing to tell them what happened, and ultimately that is when things changed and he admitted to dumping the bodies in the oil tanks.
When one is admitted in the rewritten statement that was read to the court this morning, do you have any sense of how legitimate remorse Mr. Watson expressed is?
You and I must have seen something different because I didn't see any remorse on his face at all in the court.
Ooh, okay. I didn't. Let's go back and listen to what the statement was.
In
Yeah.
the rewritten statement that was read to the court this morning, do you have any sense of how legitimate remorse Mr. Watson expressed is?
Did they read something of his? Why don't I remember that? A statement was read in court and he's asking, like,
if there was legitimate remorse.
Yeah, did they read something? I didn't think they did.
Not from him.
Yeah, what the hell are they talking about?
When one is admitted in the rewritten statement that was read to the court this morning, do you have any sense of how legitimate remorse Mr. Watson expressed is?
You and I must have seen something different because I didn't see any remorse on his face at all in the court. I saw somebody who I believe felt truly sorry for himself for the circumstances that he now found himself in. I don't believe that there was any remorse displayed at any point in time for Shanann, Bella, Nico, or Celeste. No. Yeah.
I
What
disagree.
do you make of the discrepancy between the story he told about strangling or seeing Shanann strangle the children versus the fact that he actually smothered them? What do you make of that? It seems like a small discrepancy.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. So she's asking about him saying that Shanann strangled the kids. Hang on.
Story he told about strangling or seeing Shanann strangle the children versus the fact that he actually smothered them. What do you make of that? It seems like a small discrepancy.
Oh, no. That's a very large discrepancy. That is another lie.
Okay. So she's asking, this is interesting now that I'm thinking about the whole DNA swabbing on the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she says, how did, he said that Shanann strangled the girls. And you guys are saying, they were now that, you're saying they were smothered.
Yeah.
And she said, I know that's a small discrepancy, but can you explain that? And he says, oh no, that's a big discrepancy because the strangling is a lie.
Yep.
Why didn't they swab the girls' necks?
Mm-hmm.
They swabbed Shanann's.
Bella, Nico, or Celeste. No. Yeah.
What do you make of the discrepancy between the story he told about strangling or seeing Shanann strangle the children versus the fact that he actually smothered them? What do you make of that? Seems like a small discrepancy.
Oh no, that's a very large discrepancy. That is another lie. And I keep emphasizing and using that word. We can't in the courtroom. I can here. I can tell you with in no uncertain terms, he lied to investigators. He lied to the media. He lied to the public. The fantastic work that was done by medical examiner in this case, by the coroner's office in giving us the information in a very responsible, medically accurate way to be able to say, no, those girls were not strangled. And when he sat there and in that interview demonstrated what he saw her doing, and we know that that's not what happened, it turned into a very large discrepancy in our mind. Yes.
We know what.
I have never seen a prosecutor use air quotes when doing a press conference on evidence and finality of a case.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck?
And we know that that's not what happened. It turned into a very large discrepancy in our mind. Yes.
We know what Shanann knew about the affair.
Do we know what Shanann knew about the affair?
We knew that, I should say she knew that there was a lot of suspicious behavior. We knew that she was getting alerts on her phone of credit cards being used at a restaurant in North Denver at a time that she was in North Carolina for amounts of money that one person couldn't probably consume reasonably. We know that she confronted him about that numerous times. We know that he was never completely forthcoming with her.
Numerous times, like she wasn't even home. Maybe on the phone, she may have confronted him.
Mm-hmm.
But all I saw in those texts was her saying, save your receipt for tax write-off.
Yep.
She knew what she wanted to see.
Except we don't know exactly what was shared between the two of them in those early morning hours after she got back from Arizona. Yes, sir.
Any reason to believe that the pregnancy had anything to do with the actions taken?
I can't say
Do you think that the pregnancy has anything to do with the actions taken?
that it didn't have anything to do with it. We knew that Shanann was very excited.
He says, we can't say it didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. You have nothing definitive, Rourke. Nothing definitive. Other than Chris Watts had an affair.
Mm-hmm.
About Nico and the upcoming birth. We also know that the reaction of the defendant when he found out was something less than what you would expect a normal, reasonable father to display when he finds out that he's about to have a son.
But where's he getting that from?
Right.
That video.
Yes.
The one where he acts surprised.
Yes.
Like he's just finding out that she's pregnant.
The evidence is her fucking staged video where she's wearing that shirt and he walks in surprised.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that was, it seemed kind of normal. He was surprised that they were pregnant again. So where's he getting this from that he didn't have a normal kind of reaction?
And who's he to judge what a normal reaction is?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
aside from being shocked.
Yeah, I mean, we have all sorts of reactions. We could be thinking about money. He could have been looking at that stick going, wow, Like, how am I going to afford this? I think that's pretty much what he was thinking. How the
Yeah.
fuck are we going to afford this?
Yeah, they were having problems, and now she's pregnant. Like, he's going to be shocked. It's kind of normal.
And didn't you notice too when he brought up the realtor, he didn't mention that Shanann had contacted the realtor the week prior.
Nope.
About selling it.
Nope.
I agree with you, Isaacs.
Yes.
Do we know what he used to smother the girls?
No.
Do we know what he used to smother the girls? No. We don't know anything. But we
No.
know that this guy's in prison for the rest of his life. That's all we do know. And that he admitted he killed his wife. That's all we know.
Yeah, we know that the plea deal worked.
So you can't tell us what he smothered them with, but you can definitely tell us they were smothered and not strangled, even though you didn't swab their necks. And to answer someone's question, there was an expert on the defense's side that said there would probably be trace DNA left on their necks, on their skin. And that's why they motioned the court. And the judge said, no, I'm not going to tell the coroner how to do their job. Even though they swabbed Shanann's neck, they were just asking for all three to be done.
Yep.
And they were shot down. But now he's being asked, what do you smother him with? We don't know. Because we didn't.
They did take swabs. They just didn't take it from the necks.
Right, not from the necks.
Beyond his hand, I don't know if there was anything in his hand. What I can tell you is that during the course of the autopsies, there was no fibers or anything like that found in their airways to indicate a pillow or blanket or anything like that. So,
Okay, so what was it? A hand?
Yeah.
But Chris had no. Bella struggled. I hate to bring this up because it's painful to talk about. But they even said in the discovery that she struggled.
Yeah.
She went back. She's like, was trying to get away, right? What about her little hands? You think her little hands weren't grabbing? Of course they were. It's human instinct.
Yeah.
So he had nothing. Now, granted, was he wearing long sleeves? I don't know. But nothing on his hands. I don't know. Nothing. It just doesn't make sense.
Can you or the medical examiner speak to what you saw in the autopsy that indicated smothering?
I'll let Mr. Bush.
So now she's asking, well, what was in the autopsy that indicated smothering then? Because you didn't find any fibers to show it was a pillow or a blanket. You're telling us they were not strangled. So how did you come to that determination? So now he's bringing over the medical examiner. Brace yourselves.
You would think there would be physical signs. You would think there would be physical signs.
You would think there would be physical signs. And then he gives a nod to somebody. It's all shifty.
There are some physical signs. We're going to distribute the autopsy reports to you. In the interest of balance with the family present, may I suggest that you look at that? And
in other words, he's not going to tell you shit.
Nope.
You're going to release it, read it yourself. Unbelievable. We're not going to prove any of this plea deal that we just boasted, that we got all this evidence. We all worked so hard in conjunction with one another, but we can't tell you a damn bit of what we found that justified this plea deal.
you will see what evidence the forensic pathologist could see.
Over the last 100 days, how would you describe personally this case, the toll it's taken on your team?
How would you describe the toll this case has taken on your team?
And to where we are today?
I don't know if I accurately can. Steve and I and Patrick have had a lot of conversations along with Dave and everybody else who's worked on this case about how exceedingly difficult it has been. The thing I will tell you that gets us up and gets us moving every day is that family sitting right over there. They have been phenomenal to work with under the most extreme circumstances you can imagine. And when we get to work in the morning and Sandy has called and left us a voice message asking for us to call her, it kind of gets your blood flowing and
I think he's just happy that the Rourkes didn't push the NK issue back then.
Yeah.
They were agreeable to this plea deal.
And then they kind of changed their minds.
They did.
Because Sandy had said that she wished that they had have pushed it forward.
Yeah, because when they went on Dr. Phil after the second confession, which they told Chris, this information is going to be for Shanann's family only. So he gave the story he did. And then when they got that, they were satisfied with that. But prior to that, Sandy even said on Dr. Phil that she was hoping they were going there, and she thought they were going there to roll on his girlfriend.
Because she thought that she had some kind of involvement. She even said that.
They got the recording. They played it for her. And they were satisfied with that. Hi, Vince. Vince. So, I don't know. I wish it was pushed in the beginning, too.
Yeah.
Really wanting to do the best you possibly can for them. There's been a lot of sleepless nights. There's been time away from families. Even when we are home, sometimes we're not exactly there. When we're having to look at some of the most gruesome things you can imagine. But it's been tough, but it's also why we do the job. And even though you didn't ask, I'm going to take an opportunity to say it. Thank you to Frank and Sandy and Frankie for all that you have participated in, all that you have been subjected to. It has been an honor learning a little bit about your family.
Is there anything else within the autopsies that belied anything we had told you, irrespective of the fact that children were smothered, not strangled?
That's that ABC guy that interviewed Cindy, and he's asking, is there anything else in the autopsy that indicates smothering versus strangling?
Obviously, Shanann was a victim of foul play and something.
I think you hit the most important points in the autopsy as we saw them from a prosecution standpoint. I talked about the injury to Bella that was indicative of being pushed down into those oil tanks, but he had told us that. Those things that I highlighted in court and that we've talked a little bit about here today were the most important factors in our determination that he had in fact committed what we charged him. Yeah.
This might be another question better for DOC, but do you know where?
No. We know that he.
Do you know where it took place? Do you know where the murders? Do you know where he killed the kids? No, they don't know anything.
Nope.
Bonjour, Valerie. Bonjour. Oui, oui. Sorry, Potato. They don't know. They don't know shit, do they?
Nope, they do not.
But they're up all night.
That was so well timed. That was.
We'll head to the Denver Regional Diagnostic Center, obviously in Denver. They will do some evaluations of him, but beyond that, it will be up to DOC as to whether or not he will be housed.
Did you see who's next to Frank? Tammy Lee. Tammy Lee.
Is she?
She's right next to him.
Diagnostic Center. obviously in Denver. They will do some evaluations of him, but beyond that, it will be up to DOC as to whether or not he will be housed at a facility here in Colorado or if he'll be moved out of state. That's completely their determination. Other questions? Yes.
What continuing support does Colorado provide for the Rourke family and other people who are classified as victims?
Sure. There is always the opportunity through the victims' compensation.
So I think she asked like what they offer through the victims thing.
Their determination. Other questions? Yes.
What continuing support does Colorado provide for the Rourke family and other people who are classified as victims?
Sure. There is always the opportunity through the victims' compensation program for financial assistance with any counseling needs that are necessary. Most directly, though, if Sandy has any questions or concerns, she can always pick up the phone and call one of us.
Okay, Sandy's not the only one that
Yeah.
needs therapy.
I was just about to say that.
She can always pick up the phone and call one of us.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been equally distributed.
Yep.
It's so sad.
Yes, sir.
In the evaluation described that's going to take place before he's incarcerated, would they find anything, mentally wrong with him? Would that really change how he's going to spend his time or his treatment in incarceration?
They asked if they found anything mentally wrong with Chris. And watch his face.
Mentally wrong with him? Would that really change how he's going to spend his time or his treatment in incarceration?
It may be something that DOC takes into consideration as to where they'll house him or what kind of programs they'll put him in, but from our perspective, it doesn't change anything that happened today. Yes, sir.
On social media, as everyone has seen, there have been all kinds of rumors about this case. When you were doing the investigation, were there any other possible people you may have been having relationships with that may have somehow, quote unquote, clogged them?
Okay. So he's asked, again, he's sniffed in. He's asked about social media being a big part of the case. And is there any other people that he could have had relationships with?
May have somehow, quote unquote, clogged them.
I'm glad you used the word rumor because I think that's the vast majority of what we saw on social media was just that, false rumor. I'm not aware of any other confirmed relationships that the investigation uncovered which would offer any insight into why this occurred other than the girlfriend that I talked about this morning.
They won't even say her name.
Mm-mm.
I mean, not that they would, I guess, but yeah, he's carried. Dang, that was quite the inhale.
Yes, sir.
Were any social media rumors really disruptive to your process?
All of them are disruptive to
Were any social media rumors disruptive to your process?
Yes, sir.
Were any social media rumors really disruptive to your process?
All of them are disruptive to our process. And prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation. And I don't say that crassly. when Dave and his team are out conducting interviews of witnesses, and an individual's memory might be tainted by something inaccurate that they read on a social media site, that causes us to think, okay, how much is true of what somebody's saying? What did they see? What do they hear? Or what are they surmising or guessing because of something that they read on social media? Yeah.
Who all did you interview in this investigation? I assume it's a long list. But
Oh, yeah.
What kind of relationship did they have to Shanann?
I can generally tell you that the investigation included interviews of all of Shanann's co-workers, all of her close. They surmising or guessing because of something that they read on social media. Yeah.
Who all did you interview in this investigation? I assume it's a long list. But
Oh, yeah.
Okay. She
What?
said, who all did you interview in this investigation? I'm sure it's a long list. Listen to his answer.
What kind of relationship did they have to Shanann?
And what
I can
relationship did they have
generally
with
tell you
Shanann?
that the investigation included interviews of all of Shanann's co-workers, all of her close friends, relatives, co-workers of the defendant, relationships of the defendant, neighbors. Who am I missing? Generally, I think those are the categories. Yeah. Family members.
You didn't talk to the Watts.
Mm-mm. Nope. The ones that have been spending time with her
Yeah.
in
Where's
the
Gina
weeks before.
Dietz? Where's Gina No Dietz?
No deeds.
They said they talked to Shannann's relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I got I have a little bit of info. So remember we talked about Shanann's cousin that called in from California
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and asked for more information and said that she had information to give?
Yeah.
I heard that she was sent a cease and desist by the R's.
What? Their own family?
That's what I heard, yes.
Why?
I don't know.
For what? What were they afraid of?
I don't know. I don't.
Oh, jeez. As if that doesn't say a lot.
Nothing's simple in this case.
Of both Shanann and the defendant. A long, long list of interviews.
Okay.
I could ask Dave to go through and recite them all, but.
Oh, could you, Dave? Please. I mean, isn't that what this is for?
Is that supposed to be funny?
Yeah. What a funny guy.
Look at him smirking.
He already said I'd have Dave go through them, but we might miss some.
Mm.
He's such a dick. Like, he's not even likable.
Mm-mm. And look at him smirking next to him as well.
I know it.
I could ask Dave to go through and recite them all, but he might miss some. Any other questions? Yes.
Is it possible that the Rourke family is something they want to say right now?
I have asked them.
Does the Rourke family have anything they want to say right now?
On the way down, they did not want to make a statement today, and I hope you understand the statements that they made in court, I think, were probably about as difficult as they could possibly imagine. So I appreciate you asking. They wanted to be here. They just didn't want to make a statement. Yes.
When will the amount of restitution be decided?
When will the amount of restitution be decided?
Will be an ongoing amount. Within 91 days, we will file a motion with the court asking for any restitution or any cost that we can recover in restitution. As of that 91 days will be asked for and ordered, I presume. There will be ongoing costs if there are any ongoing counseling or therapy costs, and we will ask the court to keep that the possibility of future restitution open as well. Yes. As soon as I stop answering questions.
When will wait, what did she say? When will the autopsy be released?
Restitution open as well. Yes. As soon as I stop answering questions. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Look how proud he is, too. What a douche. Oh, it just makes me so angry. He said a whole lot and told us a whole lot of nothing.
Yes. Total. Still so many questions.
Yeah, more questions than answers, I think. Chat is lit up tonight.
What are they saying?
Let's see. Mike Sanders says, I would have told him to submit an FOIA for the information. One-liner Brat is on a roll tonight.
As always.
Sounds like protecting Masonic ass. So rumor has it that Rourke is a Mason, but I know not a lot. I know a couple guys that are in Mason, like Freemasons or whatever. I don't know. I don't even want to look into it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
She
a
does
whole
not
rabbit
know.
hole.
Hey, this is what I think of.
Ooh, that will scare somebody.
I didn't even mean to push that. Whoopsies.
Sure.
So wait, I moved everything around, so now I can't find them. But this is what I want to say. This is me to Rourke.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
So let's do a quick poll before we get off here. I want to know where you guys stand. I can't believe the anniversary is Saturday. I didn't realize it was coming up so quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 4 years.
Oh shit, we have breaking news.
Prices are going to continue to go.
FBI raids Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate.
What?
Former President Donald Trump said in a lengthy statement that the FBI was conducting a search of his Mar-a-Lago estate and asserted that agents had broken open a safe. A person familiar with the matter said the action was related to a probe of whether Trump had taken classified records from his White House tenure to his Florida residence. After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate, Trump said. He added, "These are dark times for our nation, as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before." Just in. Weird. Well, you know what? His beautiful home in Mar-a-Lago, he should be grateful he has a beautiful home because half the people in Florida can't even afford what they're living in. I'm finding it hard to muster up a lot of
a
sympathy
response
right now. Okay, so let's do a quick poll. I don't remember what I was going to ask now. I had it right on the top of my head, and then I saw that Trump thing.
Is Rourke full of shit?
Okay.
Yes or no?
Okay. Or no. Is Rourke full of poop? Yes or no? Oh, I know. We're all
no.
broke. His beautiful home. Fuck him and his beautiful home. Leo Texas, with the power bill, gas prices, and food, we all broke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not president anymore.
Good point.
Former president. This has never happened to a former president, but I think it has. I think Richard Nixon found himself in some trouble with the FBI, with Watergate, something like that. Don't you know? Look at Olive
Don't
Juice.
you know? Of course he is. Don't you know?
We have 100%. Send that poll to CNN. Oh my gosh. Why does everything feel like it's orchestrated?
Maybe because it kind of is.
Yeah.
There's a reason it feels that way.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey.
One-liner Brat says, Rourke is a rumpkin. Rourke is a poop butt. Rourke is his mama's boy.
Rourke is his mama's boy.
Loud and beefy.
Where is Rumpkin?
Bundy's a rumpkin. Bundy's a poop butt. Bundy's his mama's boy.
Oh, man. All right. Well, guys, I hope you guys got something out of that interview. If you could please give this a like. We are at 100 likes. We just clicked 101. Please give this a like on your way out. Thank you, Potato, for coming up and watching my rubbish.
Thank you for again. Somebody.
My rubbish will scare it. You know? You guys, did you know that wasn't part of what Susan Atkins said when Potato read this? She added, this was an addition.
I just misread. I misread it.
No. This is what she added to the script to give it more oomph. Are you ready?
That's not true.
Are you ready?
It had zero oomph in what I said.
Are you ready for the oomph? Here we go.
Ooh-wee, that will scare somebody. Oh my God, it's so dead. Ooh-wee.
Ooh-wee.
And that was the second time I recorded that as well. So the first one was even worse.
Either one. Going on Twitters.
Oh, jeez.
We love it so much.
Ooh-wee.
Ooh-wee. I think all the guys in chat are going to request Potato say,
Ooh-wee, that will scare somebody.
I think I got to go to the bathroom. I drink too much pop. Look at you
Oh,
guys.
so do I.
Rourke is 100% a rumpkin. So I think that was settled tonight, if not anything else. Look at that.
100%.
I love you guys. Oh my gosh, Laura W., you are amazing. Amazing, amazing stuff.
Ooh-wee, that will scare somebody.
All right, you guys. I hope everybody has a great night. Sleep well. I love leaving on a laughing note. It's great. Good night, everyone. Good night, Potato.
Good night.
Dance it out.
Sweet dreams, my sexy empanada.
Oh, did you really have to?
I did. Sweet dreams, ladies.
Shuckshy.
And I can't find my video. Delay, abort.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I'll never call you back. 'Cause I ain't got time for that. I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You that I'm away so much that now you don't feel the way you felt when we were younger. But that's okay for me, 'cause